Before asking your questions, please state your name, the agency that you're representing, as well as the name of the person to whom the question is addressed to. We would ask you to please limit yourself to one question and one follow-up only. On va prendre, si on a le temps, 2 questions en anglais et 2 questions en français. Veuillez s'il vous plaît vous nommer et nous dire quels médias vous représentez. Vous pouvez poser une question ainsi qu'une question de suivi dans l'une des deux langues officielles. Ladies and gentlemen, a reminder, given our limited time with the ministers, we would ask you to please keep your questions to the subject matter at hand. If possible, should you have questions for Minister MacKay on another topic, I would be glad to speak with you following this, or you can contact the Department of Defense's Media Liaison Office. Okay, thank you very much. The first question is yours.
Daniel Brusoliti, Sun Media. This is a question for Minister MacKay. No, it's not related to the Memorandum of Understanding specifically, but it is related to our responsibilities in North and South America more broadly. Given the report from the PBO yesterday about shipbuilding and our program and the money that's been set aside for it, can you guarantee that the 2 supply ships that will be built for the Navy will have at least the same capabilities as the Protector class that they seek to replace, and that the other naval ships that will be constructed will not be reduced in number or in capability?
Sure. Look, thanks for the question. And it is, you're right, it is an important question for Canada's ability to continue to project outward our strength, our influence in the world, and that's certainly true of the Americas. So what we have in place, as you know, is a long-term procurement strategy when it comes to ships and many other projects that we're pursuing. And the procurement strategy is overseen with very rigorous, independent oversight. We have fairness monitors built into this strategy, which is led by Public Works. We have experts in the area of marine and independent industry oversight as well. So I ask you to keep in mind that we're in the design phase of these ships. This is, in fact, the second time that we've been through design phase. So there's been a great deal of independent oversight there, as well as ensuring taxpayers' interests will be protected. And this is, I think, and has been the focus of some of the work of the PBO. And I also point out what the report itself says. At one point it says these high-level cost estimates and observations are neither to be viewed as conclusions nor as a view to future costs. So in short, yes, it is our intention and always has been that the Navy will have the necessary replenishment ships, supply ships that they need well into the future. And the vessels that they will be replacing, as you know, have been in use for many, many years. So the intention is to match or surpass that capability.
Does that also include the numbers then? The numbers of actual ships, not just the supply ships, that's just 2 or possibly 3, but also the surface combatants specifically, because those could be even more expensive.
As I said in response to your first question, the intention is clearly to match or surpass the capability. And the same would be said of the surface combatants. But we're at the very early stages, and even earlier with respect to the replacement of the combat vessels. We've just come through the Felix program, the upgrade of the current fleet of frigates, and we're yet to really enter into the design stage of what will replace our entire fleet of combat vessels.
Thank you, Daniel. Next question, please.
Murray Brewster with the Canadian Press News Agency. I'm going to shock you, Minister, and actually ask you a question about the MOU. I'm wondering whether or not this particular MOU has, as part of it, intelligence sharing agreements and also industrial benefits agreements similar to ones that have been signed recently elsewhere.
Murray, that's a very good question. What I can tell you is the agreement, and we'll make copies available, is it's worded broadly enough to include those and other subject areas. We discussed today in our bilateral meeting some of those elements, which do include industrial cooperation, which do include obviously training, which we have been doing, possible opportunities for further exchanges of officers and officer cadets. So it's not meant to limit the parameters. It's actually intended and drafted in such a way that we want to broaden and deepen the relationship with Peru. And so we did talk about some of the specific elements. Minister Cateriano mentioned the subject of narco-trafficking and the very challenging environment in which their armed forces work, progress that has clearly been made, but other areas in which we hope we can be mutually supportive through our armed forces agreement, but leading to other opportunities too, trade, industrial cooperation. Peru is currently purchasing and looking at purchasing more Canadian equipment, including Twin Otters that they're using in their armed forces.
I'll come back to the broader question of the joint support ships for just a moment. When the program was retooled in 2009, the Navy's initial estimate was $2.9 billion for these ships. Are you, and given what the PBO has said, are you prepared to go back to Cabinet and argue for more money for these ships if the review that will be undertaken of the design shows that capabilities are going to have to be taken out?
Well, what I'll commit to is listening to a number of sources, including the very independent arm's-length sources that will also have the opportunity to review the numbers, to review the design, to review the staged approach which this procurement will follow. And clearly we want to make maximum use of the information to make the right decisions because there's clearly an identified need when it comes to these ships. There are lessons from the past that we hope to learn from, and it is very much our intention that we get the right ship, the right build, the maximum benefits for Canadian industry and Canadian jobs. And there is mutual benefit here to both the Canadian Armed Forces, the Navy specifically, but also the Canadian economy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brewster.